Well, happy holidays, all. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Dr. Benita Anderson, founder of Stretch Educational Training and Support. And you see my special guest there. I will get to him in a moment. Um, First, just a little bit about Stretch, who we are, what we do. Uh, as I said, that's who I am. And the acronym for Stretch, it stands for setting. Hold on, let me make sure. I'm sorry, let me share my screen with you. Okay, you're with me now, right? You see the screen?
I do. I see it.
Thank you. All right, so this is who Stretch is. That's the acronym. That's what it stands for, setting trends and redefining education through creativity and habit. And I just wanted to share that with you because that's who my brand is. How this came about, I retired in 2016 as an educator, administrator, but for a longer time, a teacher, which is kind of takes us to where we're going tonight. But after I retired, as one of my professors put it, I refired. So I started this brand to support teachers who I had worked with. Just from my experience and my passion for education didn't die yet. When I retired, I retired early. So what started after retirement, what started for me, let me change my view. What started for me is a passion for supporting and training teachers. So basically I was taking how I had spent my career, which I thought was a pretty fun and successful career. We'll find out in a few minutes. But but anyway, I got involved in some training and became a national trainer for other teachers. So I became certified to go in and teach teachers. And I was focused at that time on two areas. I've expanded it since then, but I was focused on classroom management, which is kind of our focus tonight, and student engagement and motivation. So from there, I started presenting at conferences, doing breakout sessions, and continued on to on-site teacher trainings. And as I said, mostly focused on classroom management, and then adding another component to the schools after I went and they asked me to come back. And then March 2020 hit, so there were no on-site trainings, obviously. So I spent that time getting prepared to add to my brand, which was trauma-informed practices. I'd go in and teach those for teachers. And also I conducted virtual training and various presentations during that time, clearly virtually, for everything from calming the students to calming the teachers, social emotional learning, breathing activities, etc. Then my doctoral research was focused on social emotional competence for teachers and students. So that time off gave me an opportunity to become even more well-versed and finish up my dissertation. Now that's over and I'm back in stride again, and I'm back out supporting teachers in the field, setting up full day trainings, half day trainings, or whatever suits the teachers, or whatever the school needs is what I'm saying. So for any of our new visitors, welcome. If you've never been at a Stretch pop in before, thank you for joining us. So the session that I'm having tonight is kind of centered around the fact that of my memories as a new teacher. And not only a new teacher, but a new administrator supporting teachers. And one of the things that I guess can make our job a little tough is managing behavior and managing personalities and various personalities. And, some are easy, laid back, quiet, but I think you'll agree, if you're a classroom teacher, most are not. So with that being said, I want to introduce to you Byron BRUFF, and I will he'll tell you a little bit about, we're going to start out just talking about his high school time. He was a student of mine at Thornwood High School. And I don't remember the year, so that's going to be my first question, is when he graduated. But I do want to just kind of get started from a reflection standpoint. And I should probably warn you, Byron and I are going to keep this one real. So if I'm putting out a disclaimer. We're telling the truth. So his truth might be different from mine, but I promise you, they'll both be full. So anyway, as we're going to continue now, I introduce to you BRUFF, Byron Ruff, and we're going, like I said, we're starting with his high school, so that's how it started. That's our first step here. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a moment and get into our questions. Welcome, Byron.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Thank you so much. So, first of all, what year did you graduate from high school?
The magnificent and historical class of 2000.
2000, wow, a different era. Oh man, I know that was exciting for you because you definitely always stood out.
Absolutely.
And tell our viewers a little bit about your high school experience in terms of what did you do? And we'll start with the easy stuff, athletics. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so I came in 96. I was blessed to have significant speed and athletic ability on the football field, as well as track. And so we were very good at track. Football, we were competitive. We didn't have the same success. And so football was my first love. I only ran track to stay in shape for football. But as the years went on and I experienced more success on the track, it pretty much became parallel. Like I said, our track team was very good. We was the best in the state. We missed winning state by 4.5 points. I still remember to this day, to York, to York County. And but it was pretty cool. And the reason that experience was it really stands out to me because during that time I didn't realize it, but me being a leader, traditionally when you think about like high schools, like Saved by the Bell, things like that we watch on shows, underclassmen was mistreated. You throw pennies at them, you take advantage of them, you make them do things. We didn't do that in a track and field team. We actually saw them as an asset and said, hey, listen, we're going to show you the right way how to prepare, how to be a student athlete, how to train, how to be on time, how to be responsible, how to be accountable, et cetera, et cetera. And years later, not only are those friendships still firm and intact, but I've been told on multiple occasions how my leadership back then meant so much to them then and how they use me as an example now in their separate professions. And so I just really, am thankful for having people like you in my life that kind of instilled that in me during that time, which I didn't realize it. And, to see, 20, 25 years later, like, wow, here I was, 14, 15, 16, 17 years old, doing things that, pay dividends down the road. And so that was on the athletic side. Now on the academic side, and there's a lot of what I do now. I was a student that had all the intelligence to be a straight A student, but I didn't apply myself. I did just enough. I remember vividly going online. And this kind of reminds you of when criminals, when you see criminals do certain things and you're like, yo, if they use this to, to better themselves instead of, to do illegal activity, they could do wonders. I remember going to the NCAA clearinghouse, which is the website for, all student athletes, and seeing what the requirements were for me to compete at the collegiate level. And I remember it was like, it was 2 years foreign language, 2 years math, 4 years English, just going down a list. And I was checking them off like, okay, I'm only doing 2 years math. Okay, I'm only doing 2 years foreign language. And I did the exact bare minimum, instead of, shooting for the moon. And, when I look back on it, it's like, man, if I had enough intuitiveness to go and see, what the requirements were, why did I do the bare minimum? And that was pretty much a snapshot of my entire like high school academic career was, I did just enough. I was never, on the verge of being ineligible. I always stayed safe. So my mom wouldn't say anything. I was never in the counselor's office, anything like that for my grades. But when it came time for recruitment time, a lot of opportunities for universities fell through the cracks because my GPA was like borderline. And during that time, I would say probably when I was in high school, that's when the whole dumb jock thing was kind of falling off. And it was like, hey, it's a lot of athletes that's really competitive, not only on the field, but in the classroom. I can hear you. Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Now?
Yep, there you go.
Perfect. I hit that button. Okay. Lesson learned. All right. So when I'm working with teachers, I'm teaching them about social awareness, self-awareness, self-regulation or behavior control for themselves and their students. So my memories of you in the classroom, I want us to talk about that a little bit. I want us to get down and dirty. Now, clearly from just listening to you, it's history, so it's okay to go back there, because I think we all know at this point you did survive it. But tell me a little bit
you
about,
did too.
And I did too. And I did too. Tell me a little bit about, well, let me tell my perspective. To any teachers who are on here listening to us or any educators, Byron was the student. I'm glad he brought up academics, because it was one thing I never had to worry about was Byron failing, because he wasn't going to do that. Like he said, he had the potential to be a straight A student, but he had other things in mind. And just to tell you the truth, nothing was off limits. He was going to get his work in, but when it came to socializing and the moves that he made, and I intentionally, he might not remember, but I intentionally titled this session Class Clown, because I'm just keeping it real. There was nothing out of Byron's realm when it came to making everybody laugh. And I'm going to tell you, teachers, Byron, I guess one thing I learned from my experience with him is the personality is not necessarily, well, this will show, in itself, this is proof that sometimes it's not as bad as it seems. He was funny. My biggest challenge with him was having to turn my head with some of the things he would do so the kids didn't see me laughing. And I'm just going to give you a terrible example. And I'm just going to give it to you. For some reason, Byron needed on some occasions to check the hygiene of his peers. It was not this. Why does this stand out with me? I don't know. How many years ago was it? But one of the things that stands out with me is it was not unusual for him to just walk up to a child and check their pits. I'm not sure what he planned to do with that information after he got it, but I'm using that as one example. There are hundreds. I mean, I'm not going to go into all of them, but my point is this: Byron had a personality that, as a teacher, you were not going to stop it. And I'm glad. What I teach teachers is conflict is inevitable. We teach that it's going to happen. But getting into a combat with Byron was not even, it just didn't make sense. Because one, he was what he was. Two, I knew he wasn't going to fail, because sometimes when our students are misbehaving, you start to wonder, if I write them up, put them out, are they going to fail? And none of us as educators ever wanted that. But I knew he wasn't, because he just gave a prime example of how clever he was. And he knew exactly where his grade was at all times. And I'm glad we talked about athletics, because the other thing about a student like Byron is he was a star athlete and he had a lot of support. I mean, and I was also a sports fan, so that might have played a role in it. Maybe I was a little partial, I don't know. But I wanted to just talk about the personality of a student like Byron is a pain in our, you know what? I'm just telling you, as teachers. I told you I was going to keep it real, didn't I? He was a pain. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. However, at some point, I had to make a decision. Am I going to let this child drive me crazy, or am I going to find another solution? Now, did I ever calm him down? Probably not. But I did learn how I was going to respond to it. And I think there's a testimony at the end here. I should keep moving to make sure we get to it, where you'll see that I did not allow, and I'm not tooting my horn, I'm offering suggestions or just looking back on these things, just talking a little bit about how, a little bit, still good? Mm-hmm. I want to offer some insight on when dealing with behaviors, some of the things we might be faced with, and my suggestion is stay calm. Stay calm. Don't be rough. Let look at the personalities individually. Like I said, this one I intentionally found him. We, somehow connected on social media, and actually one of Byron's coaches had contacted me, or we ran into each other, and he told me about Byron. You've got to see, you got to see BRUFF. You should connect with him. You won't believe it. So anyway, moving right along, share with us a little bit about your post high school. What happened? So you got in with this minimum stuff you did to just make it in. So what did education and athletics look like after that?
So one thing I wasn't prepared for was senior year was my first year that I ever got injured. And at the time, it didn't appear to be a serious injury. But it actually, in hindsight, definitely derailed my athletic career. I had letters from Stanford, Northwestern, Virginia Tech, Duke, the Ivy League schools. I mean, I had letters coming in from everywhere. And it was funny. I remember receiving a letter from Harvard, Cornell, and Brown, and like chuckling, like they could not have pulled my transcripts. like they clearly have not done their homework. And again, not because I felt like I wasn't smart enough. And then a little bit, I was like, I knew I wasn't a Harvard student. I will admit, I knew I wasn't Harvard a year, but I was just like, they clearly was. This was a precursor before you check the transcripts. And so, when it came down to it, one, my mother and I, we really didn't understand the recruitment process. And so a lot of contact that I was supposed to make, I didn't make. And I'll say this too, during that time, and this kind of followed me into my adulthood, I didn't ask for help. Mm-hmm. And I didn't ask for help because I knew the perception was I had it all together. I didn't need help. And so when it came to select a college, a lot of the universities, because I didn't reach back out, because I didn't take the proper steps that you're supposed to take during the recruitment process, it dried up. However, since I was such a stellar athlete, some of the lower tier schools, chumped at the bit to like, hey, we can get a big time athlete, to come to our school and it'll really, do wonders for us. And that's how I ended up at Eastern Illinois University. And so I attended Eastern Illinois University, never took a visit. Well, let me take that back. It was like a crash course visit. I took a visit like in December and I enrolled during the summertime. Because my GPA was not at the level that it was supposed to be, I had to come in and take some classes to be eligible to play football. Now, during this time, now remember I said, my generation was like on the verge of the whole, maneuvering with the dumb jock type thing. They enrolled me in, my summer classes was bowling and ballroom dancing. Those are the two classes I took in that summer so I could be eligible to play. so I'll be able to play in the fall. And so, and I remember I was like, "This a class or whatever." I remember the tango, the rumba. I still remember some dances today. But anyway, got to Eastern, and I majored in early childhood development. I always had a love for kids. I always had a love for kids, and so I majored in early childhood development, and I minored in child psychology, not even realizing what the paper, workload was going to be. But all in my mind, I said, "Hey, I love kids, and someday I want to own, some daycare centers." And so, went to Eastern, and a lot of people don't know this. So, what people that close to me, but a lot of people, and it's only by the grace of God. I attended Eastern for 2.5 years, and I actually ended up leaving prematurely. And I left during the time my sophomore year. To God be the glory, she's my wife now, but we became teenage parents. I was 19. Yeah, I was 19 when my daughter was born. My wife was 20. She was a junior. I was a sophomore. Now, during that time, in my mind, I said, well, she's closer to graduating than I am. And so, that was one component. Another component, I didn't want to ask my mom for help because at the time, it was pretty much one of those things where we brought you on to the university on a football scholarship to be a football player, not a parent. And since my father was absent during my childhood, my focus literally just went instantly to, being a parent. And so, so that was kind of, part of the decision of not returning to school. I didn't want to ask my mom for help. To this day, there's like a rolling balance because I didn't want to ask for $1,100. Like after they took me on scholarship, like it's crazy. And it goes back again and not ask for help, but again, and you kind of alluded to this a little bit, to me, you was going in that direction. There was a persona of BRUFF that I wanted to maintain. And, and asking for help, like, and the fact of the matter is nobody would have knew, only the people I would have been asking. But in my mind, it was just like, keep things looking the way they need to look. And, I didn't ask for help. And so I ended up leaving school prematurely. And, it for years, it really didn't bother me. But strangely, in the last couple of years, I won't say it doesn't bother me, but I do feel like unfinished business. Like I really do. And I think in large part because of my wife. Like she just got her doctorate in the last 10 to 12 months, somewhere in that time frame. And so it's kind of been motivating to see her get her master's degree and then get her doctorate, especially at a time we're working, working parents. And so, it's kind of, it's motivation from her as well as motivation, like, for my son to see a male, walk across the stage. Cause it's like in my wife's family, like masters come a dime a dozen, like, and they got a few doctors over there too. And so the women have great examples, but I would love for my son to see that as well. But I mean, anything can happen, who knows? But yeah, so that was pretty much college. I went, the what you was able to experience and so many other people. And as far as my high school athletic success, it was not the same in college. It wasn't. Like I remember one of my he was actually my high school and my college teammate. I remember him saying to me, "You're not the same person as you was in high school." And a lot of it was bitterness. It was bitterness. I felt like I didn't deserve to be there. I knew that my talent level, I should have been somewhere, more, more decorated. And so it was just a lot of bitterness of me being at Eastern. But in hindsight, that's where I met my wife. And that's, our 3 beautiful children. So it was definitely the right place, that God put me. But during that time, I just felt like, just a lot of just poor decisions and not utilizing the help. Because like you said, I had plenty of support, but I didn't utilize it because, I wanted to do everything on my own. And just like most men, we don't ask for help. We kind of cry silently, instead of, communicating, when we need assistance.
Mm-hmm. That is really interesting that you mentioned that not asking for help. And when we talk about, actually, I told you that I teach social emotional. That fits in there. That's right in there. That's one of the components, and one of the tenets is, making wise decisions, and taking responsibility and asking for help. It's right in there. I'm sure your wife can tell you that, or it's something that she can share. And thank you for sharing that, because you were headed to my next step, which is, let me see if I have a slide for it. I think I might have. So that's how it started. And we're going to, oh, let me share my screen. ah. So I'm going to fast forward and look at where is he now? You're looking at my screen, right?
Yeah, I see it.
So
Yep.
so that's where we're headed. Who is he? So we're beyond the good, the bad, the ugly, whatever. But one of the reasons why I brought Byron in, I wanted to bring Byron in, is class clown or not, there are good endings to stories. So I want you to share a little bit with us about what you do, how you got into what you do. And I've already heard some insight into, I guess what I'm feeling right now is what you learned has been a benefit in what you do. So
Absolutely.
if you'll just share right now a little bit share what you do.
So I now live in Charlotte, North Carolina. Me and my wife moved here in 2005, February 2005. So it's been quite a journey. Uh, Originally, when we got here, I dived right into the corporate world. I was working in banking, so I was a stockbroker for about 7 years. Loved that. It was so challenging. It reminded me of sports, so that was pretty cool. And then I did little small business loans for Wells Fargo. And at one point, I just was sitting in my cubicle and I said, there has to be more to life than this. Like I know God has given me gifts that are beyond this cubicle wall. And I began writing a business plan. And that's how Universal Sports became about. Universal Sports is a company that supports student athletes. I originally began just training them, doing athletic training, helping them get faster, stronger, quicker, more powerful. And then over the years, it evolved into student development, player development, as far as the character part. And so we added that component, and then I began helping recruiting athletes. And a friend of mine, Jabril Field, he came on board and we kind of joined forces. We were doing the same thing. I was doing it in Charlotte, North Carolina. He's doing it in South Carolina. And now we're pretty much doing it both. We support student athletes, man, in Illinois, North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, Oklahoma, Indiana, Michigan, Texas, Kentucky. I mean, it's several states. Yeah. So it's become so rewarding, because a lot of times when I'm on the visits with the student athletes, it allows me to experience some of the things that either I did experience or I didn't, because of my premature departure from college. And so it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. And it's opened up so many doors. And so now, in addition, I was sharing this with you last week. I most recently became the director for youth programming for West Boulevard Ministry, which is a ministry founded by Bart Noonan here in Charlotte, North Carolina. And we support the children in the West Corridor of Charlotte, which is like pretty much a low income area for a lot of families. And so just yesterday, I took about 15 boys to go see Spider-Man. I'll send you that picture later. But just now I'm in the trenches. Now I'm in the trenches. I'm operating in my passion. I was just on a phone call actually about an hour ago. And a friend of mine was like, so what's the new job? And I said, this is not a job. I said, this is a calling, this is an assignment. And it's pretty cool, because things that I was doing for free before, now I'm being compensated for.
Oh,
you know, and not that I'm doing it for the compensation, but it's nice you know, that I'm operating in my passion. And so, as I was saying before, I've been married for 16 years. My wife, Latasha Ruff, we was college sweethearts. We both went to Eastern Illinois. My oldest daughter, she's 19. She's a junior now. A lot of people don't know this, so they think she's a sophomore. But she's in her senior year, but she
Wow.
actually went to school with credits. And so now, after these last finals, she's been on campus for 2 years, but now she's a junior at Florida A&M in Tallahassee. And then I have a 14-year-old. She's a freshman in high school. She's a world renowned, in my world, she's world renowned gymnast. And then my son Brian, he plays every sports that is a ball, he plays. And so, but what I'm more proud of is, and I'm not saying it just because I'm a parent, like seriously, they are like super smart, charismatic, bright personalities. They hustle. Like my daughter, she was like complaining about, not having a job on campus. She cooks and sells plates on campus. She came home for the holidays cooking. I said, I can get used to this. Yeah. So, and they are all like AB students. Even my oldest daughter kind of reminds me of myself academically. But I think because of me and my wife's influence, like it clicked for her and she's taken off. And so that's the family. We just here in Charlotte, we've planted our roots and just trying to make an impact in the community.
So yeah, that's exactly where I wanted you to go. Let me get my screen back.
Okay.
You might have questions I see we have a few people still on. Dr. McKenzie just left. I don't know if you remember Jonathan McKenzie. I don't know what he was doing there at the time, but he's doing some really great things now. But let me share. Do you see it? You see it, right? Okay. All right. So for my title, I titled this session From Class Clown to Class Act. So this is my definition of class act when I look at Byron. A lot of the things he talked about, I knew them already from following him literally on social media, because he's right. He has a wonderful family, and I picked that up just from following them. Look at the Brian and look at Byron, but even the girls. I mean, this picture just reminds me of success, and that we make mistakes and then we fix them and we keep moving forward. But Byron is, as we kind of get ready to close down, Byron is a husband, father, a man of faith. I see in his posts, and he still has a sense of humor though. He looks like he's still an athlete. He's an influencer, and like I said, the comedian part I think still exists, maybe on a different level. It probably keeps it a little bit. Is that true?
Look, so if you talk to my kids, I'm real funny. So every day I drive an hour to take my daughter to practice. And so I have a automatic, car. Every now and again, I'll act like that it's a manual, and I'll act like that I'm downshifting, and my kids like, what are you doing? So I'm still at heart, like, my wife calls me lame, the kids call me, whatever. But no, it's ingrained in me. And you will be, I don't know if you're happy to know, but my son is like a carbon copy of me.
I believe it.
We have the same, every grade level that he goes to, we meet with the teacher and say, listen, our son is very charming. Okay. Do not get pulled in. Maintain the student to teacher relationship. Do not get pulled in.
I can definitely relate. And I'm happy that you all are giving them the warning, because I wasn't warned. But I'm happy that you all did receive a warning, and congratulations that you are warning his teachers. And congratulations, I am following your daughter, and I'm with you. there's a star in the making. I want to make sure that I know that I'm there to say, hey, I remember when. Congratulations to you and your wife, seriously, for being great.
Thank you.
It's clearly you're great parents, and your kids, I can see how they're great. And yes, I have seen the little point guard in action. Thank you for sharing those videos. As you know, I like sports, so it's a joy to me to watch your media. Now I wanted to share something with my as we get ready to close. This I needed to share with any educators who see this recording later. They're not on here because they are relaxing and they are not doing Zoom on their vacation. However, I will be sharing it with them. So when I met with Byron, or when I ran in or reconnected with Byron, I think it was January of 20, kind of estimating. This is a post that I don't know what I said, and this was his response to it. It looks pretty clear. Can you read it, Byron?
I can.
I was going to read it because I wasn't sure how visible it was going to be, but I'm just going to stop for 30 seconds before I move it because I want educators to read it.
And can I say something while they're reading?
Mm-hmm. Yes, please.
I want to highlight this because I actually did not remember this. Like I did, but I didn't until you highlighted it. I remember vividly. My wife is gonna give you. She gonna laugh at me, but she not disrespect. Whatever. But I remember vividly you coming to all the games, and that meant so much to me. Reason being, it was just me, my mom, my sister. My mom, we didn't have a car.
Mm-hmm.
So my mom wasn't able to attend every game. That was number one. Number two, for whatever reason, I still don't. I mean, it's not something I asked, but I don't think about it. I didn't think about it then like I think about it now. But I didn't have a lot of family that came to my games. It just, I don't think it was like, I think me and my mom talked about it once, and she kind of felt bad or whatever, but it was just like, we just didn't communicate, like they didn't know. So they didn't come just not to be coming. They just didn't know. And so now as an adult and as a parent, like a lot of times when y'all see me travel on social media, I'm traveling not only to my children, my blood children, but also my student athletes that I support, because I remember the value of the presence of seeing someone in the stands that supports you. And so you come into all those games and meets, that used to mean so much to me. Like when I didn't know you were coming until we would get to class and you would bring it up, and I was like, yo, she came to the game, and so that really meant the world to me. And so to educators, man, I'm telling you, you don't understand, like that little token of just coming to the games, man, that if you have a problem child, that has the propensity to really shift, because now the student knows you care. They know you care beyond the classroom, beyond the grade, beyond being the authoritative figure in the classroom. Like genuinely they care. And so I definitely want to highlight that. And then, now this is the one that we kind of brought up. The whole, remember when I used to get help with my testing? And you said, Byron, I know you're getting help. And you can do whatever you want to do. But if you do not do it yourself, you are going to regret it for the rest of your life. And to this day, anytime I get on this computer and get to typing, I remember the words, because I remember the home keys, but my timing sucks. But like you alluded to before, like we never had words. Like you took an approach like, I'm gonna let Byron do Byron, but the world is gonna teach him better than I can teach him. And it did, and it really did. But I really appreciate the support that you gave, and and just you being able to connect with you all these years later. It further, highlights how much you cared then and still care now. So thank you so much.
Okay, now I'm getting weepy, but anyway, I thank you. I appreciate you for being here and taking time. And I am totally impressed with what you do as well, because like you said, who better to do it? You know what I mean? Uh, to anything that, and thanks for bringing that part up about the support. Um, I've been in places where uh, I'm not the only teacher who understands that, the value of going to the game. Some teachers who had children at home said, I've got to show up for this person's game. They may have had to get home and feed their families, feed their kids, like my daughter, like I did. But I'm glad it's just so good to hear you say that, so that people know. And like you said, who knew that you didn't have anyone there? But and yes, now you just I see you on Saturdays at the games. I see your posts because I watch sports on Saturdays. I watch college games. But that's very good what you brought up about how valuable it is to them, because I've seen your athletes, picking you out up there and hugging you. And so yeah, I'm getting a little weepy about what you and I both do. We're serving. We're doing what what we need to do.
Absolutely.
So anyway, before we close out here, this is who I am. Just wanted to throw that up there to remind you. And I would like for anyone who's on here or anyone who watches a recording to connect with me. And I will, again, this will be on the recording, so you can pull it up tomorrow or later. And as my closing words to my teachers who will be watching this, don't be rough. That should say be easy. So that means that my little humor didn't work there. It should say be easy. It says be ease. But anyway, calm down. Know that there's going to be conflict. Know that combat is not going to help. And I think that this is a prime example of, the personality was what it was. But this can be your trouble student, the student that's driving you crazy. This could be 20 years from now. How many years? You said 2000? So 11 years, right?
So we actually are celebrating our 22-year class reunion. We couldn't do 20 because of the pandemic.
COVID.
Look, we're not even sure we can do 22 yet now. But yeah, so we'll be celebrating 22 years this June.
Wow. Well, congratulations, and thank you again for jumping on during your break too, because you say your gyms, your work that you do, you're shut down as well, right? This week.
No, so we're actually so this is not my home. This is actually my office.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so this is we have a community house on the west side of Charlotte. And so I remember I told you I didn't think we was gonna have programming. Yeah, that got tossed out. So I took some boys to the movie last night, and then my older boys will be doing vision boards tomorrow night before the new year.
So a quick question before we go. What age group are the boys that you serve?
8 to 15.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. 8 to 15. Yeah. So it's a total of 24 boys. And then I'll be recruiting 6 more. So we can close it out at 30. Yeah. And
how often do you see them?
Every day.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So we meet. So Mondays we have reading literacy for the younger boys that fell behind during COVID. So, and then on Tuesdays with the younger group, which is 8 to 10, I meet with them for 2 hours. And then on Thursdays is the older boys. But the reason I say every day is because I float around to each of their schools every day of the week. I'm in constant contact with the teachers, checking on attendance, checking on grades, checking on behavior, checking on when they should be celebrated. I'm walking the halls. I'm sitting at the lunch table with them. I may dip in the classroom randomly to make sure they're handling business. I'm in the administrator's office talking to the assistant principals, the deans.
That's amazing, Byron.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I'm like an honorary staff member of all their schools.
I could see you doing that.
Yeah.
Yes, I can definitely see you doing that. Well, again, I appreciate you. I'm checking the chat to make sure there are any questions. See if anyone has any questions. And again, blessings and a good holiday season to you and your family. And I will continue to watch all the greatness that's going to come out of the BRUFF family.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a joy. Love you much.
And tell Dr. Landruff, right?
So listen, so the hyphen is only for Facebook. Her name is Rough.
Only you.
I surely.
Okay, tell Dr. Ruff, I said thank you for sharing her husband for an hour.
Yes,
And you all take care and stay blessed.
absolutely.
And thank you to our viewers for joining us. All right, make it a great one.